Hi, how you doing? I'm Jack Buck, and it's time for Top Star Bowling. You're just in time. We've got some of the top bowling stars in the world right inside. Why don't you come along? Another week of Top Star Bowling from the Marlboro Lanes, the village of Marlboro, just southwest of the city of St. Louis, the gateway to the west. Jack Buck here. You'll be hearing from Whitey Harris after a while, and how, on Top Star Bowling, where we have two very fine performers for you. And before introducing our participants, let me tell you a bit about the show. It's a three-game match, total pins count, $1,000 to the winner and $500 to the loser. In addition, the winner stays around for a crack at another $1,000. In addition, King Louis Shirts has put up $2,500. This is the beginning of a particular series where the winner with the high series will win $1,500, the high game $1,000. So a lot of money to be shot at, and part of that is going to be determined in this particular show. Let me introduce first of all, and we have a fellow from Cleveland and one from Detroit, both Midwesterners. From Cleveland, a gentleman who holds a lot of titles in and around that area, notably the Cleveland Match Game title. He's won quite a bit of money on the PBA Tour. His name is Al Thompson. Al? Al, good to see you.
Glad to be here, Jack.
I think you'll enjoy rolling here at Marlboro, and the very best of luck to you in the match.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to bring up his opponent right now. He is a young man, relatively, from the city of Detroit, and he has twice won the Masters title. He holds BPAA titles, notably in doubles with Joe Josephs, PBA titles. They've got an awful lot of letters and only one on the back. It says Billy Golembiewski. Bill, good to see you.
Nice to be here, Jack.
And a lot of money to shoot at, so we might as well get started, huh?
All righty.
We don't kick it around too much. We just ask you to shake hands, but don't get too friendly. And have a good match.
Thank you. Thank you.
Billy Golembiewski and Al Thompson. For our match, they toss a coin to determine the leadoff man. Al Thompson won the toss and chose to lead off. He's on 21. And he barely got to the head pin, and he leaves the 2-5 with a thin hit. Alongside me is Jerome Whitey Harris, member of the Brunswick Advisory Staff of Champions. Well known, I was going to say figure, but I better say name in bowling, because we don't talk about Whitey's figure. And Al Thompson is going for the spare, the 2-5. In the first frame of the first game.
I have to live with it, so I don't know why we don't talk about it.
And that's not quite the way he wanted to get it. But Al gets the spare. This is Billy Golembiewski. Billy G. He's been red hot while practicing here at the Marlboro Lanes. Really labors with that ball left. And a strike. Once again, and as has been the case during most of the Top Star bowling shows, Whitey, a contrast in styles, which is always good to watch.
Yes, and I think this is also helpful to a lot of bowlers, Jack, that sometimes think that maybe they have to copy these stars when actually they have their own individual styles that can make better bowlers out of them.
Billy's way out, way up, and carries. Starts with a double. Had the 8-10 looking at him for a while. The 8-pin was the last to topple, and it gives Al Thompson something to shoot at. Billy is from Detroit, Al from Cleveland. A couple of cities that have had friendly rivalries throughout the years in other sports, baseball and football. And Al he was a little bit high and came up with a 4-9. I didn't think it was that bad a hit.
Well, sometimes on a hit like that, Jack, you will leave the 4-9, and it's just one of those things, the mixing action of the pin plus...
Ball just drives straight through, takes that 5-pin straight back, huh?
That's right, and as we're looking at Al now, he is throwing from the right side of the approach, throwing right up at that 1-3.
That split, of course, is possible to pick, but Al didn't, so he opens, and as opposed to the double by Billy G, why, it's not a very good start for Al Thompson shooting for the $1,000. Top Star Bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress. The lanes here at Marlboro are certified by the ABC. I know, Whitey, that one of your favorite subjects with regard to pointing out various facets of bowling is the follow-through, and there we saw a perfect example, and it paid off for Thompson.
Yes, he definitely belongs to that class of bowlers with that long follow-through, Jack.
Billy G looking for 3 in a row. Boy, he'd really get that ball turning over, and the 10-pin remains. They're both playing about the same line outside.
Yes, and that's usually unusual in a match, Jack, because one of these playing the other, and with both of them on this right lane on the outside, why, anything could happen.
Going for the 10-pin, Billy G gets it. For added color, Bill is using that blue ball. Don Carter's going to be here in future weeks, and I understand that Don is employing a new Brunswick gold ball. That's some item. Billy's back in the pocket. Well, a very pretty young lady watching the match here today. I don't know who she is, do you?
No, I don't, Jack.
Would you like me to introduce you?
As the weeks go on, I would like to have you do it, but just right now, I'm busy here trying to keep score.
She appears to be very interested in the match. Attaboy, Al. Not that we're rooting for Al in particular. We don't root for any specific participant on the show, but when a fellow like Billy G starts with a double, a spare, and a strike, well, you like to see the other guy stay with him. And this could be 3 in a row for him. He has rid himself of that open brought about by the split in the second frame, looking for 3, and the 8-10 confronts him. That's his second split in 5 frames.
Jack, and both those splits are the kind of splits that a bowler feels as though he can carry, although we know that when you do get an 8-10, why your ball is just it's actually a light hit.
So a 9 count for Al in the 5th frame. Billy G is up now in the 5th, looking for his second double. Billy's from Grand Rapids, Michigan, now lives in Detroit, member of the Brunswick advisory staff of bowling champions. He and Joe Joseph have been doubles partners quite often in the past. He leaves the bucket with a thin hit, 2-4-5-8. So he failed to take full advantage of that open by Thompson in the 5th. Billy here has won the Masters, ABC Masters title twice. 60 and 62. Few of the folks in the audience were oohing and aahing. We've gone through the 5th frame. Al Thompson has 83. Billy G has 89 through the 4th with a spare up. Golembiewski has not opened. He's had 3 strikes in 5 frames. He had his thumb pointed up at the ceiling, perhaps a little reminder to himself to follow through.
Jack, he belongs to that group of bowlers that do that, and it looks like they're always hanging up wash. And he'll do that every time, even on the spare pitches.
Al Thompson has had 2 splits. And almost had another one there as he piled in on the nose. Leaves a 4-7. In future weeks, in fact, Chuck Wagner will be the challenger for the winner of this match. Don Carter is going to be here. Courtrade, Savas, Strampy, Hennessy, Ted Hoffman Jr., Dick Hoover, Buddy Bomar, Bill Pace. And a women's match coming up. Joy Abel and
sometimes you get a lot of interference on these shows, don't you? I mean, me keeping score here.
There's a strike for Thompson as he's back on.
He's not going to give up, Jack. I think he's the kind of a bowler that'll stick right on in there.
Oh, and he's not very far behind at all, unless Billy uses that 6th frame strike to start a string. Ten-pin keeps him from doubling. If Billy were bigger than he is, and he's a little guy, 5'8½", 135 pounds, or if his name were shorter, we would have had his full name on the back of the uniform, but his name and his size make a bad combination. There's his spare. So he has 129 through the 6th. He has a 26-pin lead at the moment over Al Thompson. But Al has a strike working where Billy does not. Boy, he's way out. Another 10-pin. He's left a couple of them, and he may be playing an angle that is conducive to leaving 10 pins.
He's got to keep the ball moving up, Jack, and that's what he's doing now, and occasionally you will leave 10 pins. Pins don't mix fast enough.
And there's his spare, so he has not opened. Al Thompson has opened twice with a couple of splits, but it's not going to hurt him too much, particularly if he can do something here in the 8th and get a double. It's a 3-game match. We're in the first game. And a high hit with that. I thought he might carry for a while, but left the 4-7.
Well, it was almost like his previous hit, Jack, when he was on that lane in the 6th frame, where he left the 4-7. I think he's just, of course, we can be sitting back here, we can see it. Looks like he's just pointing. He's pointing the ball right up at the head pin.
There's a spare for him. So the difference in the match and in this game is readily apparent. A 25-pin lead for Billy G. 9th frame.
Jack, the number of times people ask us what they're doing when they hold their hand over that return. Well, actually, there's the Brunswick hand dryer there, and they're drying off their hand.
There he is. So Thompson has had 4 strikes in this game now. Just as many as Billy. But Billy hasn't opened. Al could go on to a 2-0-3 game despite those splits. This is the 9th frame now for Billy G. He had a little different approach that time. He wasn't nearly as far outside, and he seemed to speed the ball up a little bit as he played it in.
Yes, I think Billy probably realized on the last time he left that 10-pin on that lane, Jack, and he made that adjustment. Ted Crone has played a great part in Billy's career. He usually advised him and acts like a coach for him. Ted is in our audience today, too.
10th frame. Any doubles? Nope, not here. A rockin' 4. So the best Billy can do is 208. The best Thompson could do is 203.
You know, that's what you usually see on Top Star Bowling, Jack, is these fellas manage to keep their game's pretty free of misses, actually. They'll run into splits, but they sure work on their spares.
A spare for Billy in the 10th frame. 208 with a 10 count. He's had 5 strikes. Thompson could close in on him, but could not take the lead no matter what he does in the 10th frame. Billy has 207. 207 for Billy Golembiewski. So many of these. You try to interpret those facial expressions while you'd have yourself a book to fill as Billy G came back to the bench. So many of these bowlers spend so much time bowling as members of teams, they come back ready to root their opponent on. Come on, let's go, they almost seem to say. There's a double. That's going to tighten this matchup.
I think that's just a reflex, Jack, of this encouragement. They do it naturally.
That was the 5th strike for Thompson. Same number as Billy G ended with. Looking for 3. And he worked hard to get that one, didn't he? Really whipped that ball out and then came racing back. So he's going to be over the 200 mark with a fair hit. With a good hit, he'll have 203 and be only 4 pins behind.
Jack, that hit there, he put all those Brunswick crowns right back into a box. When they ripple them up like that, that's really an effective ball.
Al ends with 203. Nice comeback for him. He was down by 25 pins, and I suppose Billy G hates to see that lead get away from him, but he's still out in front. It's Thompson with 203 and Billy G with 207 at the end of the first game. Well, at the end of the first game, and despite 2 opens, 2 splits, the 4-9 and the 8-10, had you forgotten about those, Al Thompson? Al is very much in our match here, which shows what happens when you put those strikes together, as Al did toward the close of the first game and as Billy did not do. As they go for the $1,000. $500 to the loser, ready for the second game on Top Star Bowling. Al Thompson led off in the first game, so here is Billy Golembiewski getting the second game underway. Drives in there and carries the 10-pin this time. That 10-pin bothered him in the first game. He left a couple in the 7th and 8th frames, right in between strikes in the 6th and 9th. And it left a 4-pin in the 10th, so he's been very, very close to putting these strings together.
I think he's pretty well set, Jack, on how he is going to play these lanes. He's practically playing them both alike.
Al Thompson is 4 pins behind as the second game starts. And now the 10-pin gets to him. 6 pins started to go for it. I don't imagine he'd change anything from that delivery.
No, I think not, Jack. This is always a precautionary method by a lot of the bowlers. They go up and just check their slide.
How often have you heard someone say, I'd like to bowl, but don't know how? Well, your bowling proprietor can take care of that situation. He's probably equipped with a Learn to Bowl program. This teaching method utilizes sound films produced for groups, including youngsters, men, women, and seniors. Ask your proprietor about the Learn to Bowl program. If you're already bowling, a suggestion for you, how about 2-3 extra games during the week of practice? Be surprised what it does for your average. Here's Al Thompson. Second frame, thin hit, 2-5. Giving him 18 on the first frame. Billy G started with a strike.
Al, you know, comes from Cleveland, Jack, and on our staff we have 2 great bowlers that had come out of Cleveland, won the same title that he did, Steve Nagy and Harry Smith. They both were match game champions of the Cleveland area.
Remember the last time Al shot for the 2-5, he picked it the wrong way. And he didn't quite cover that one the way he wanted to either. What about Chuck Wagner, who's the opponent for next week?
Chuck is an outstanding bowler in the Chicago area, Jack, and he's been associated with a lot of the great teams up there. He's a consistent 200 average bowler.
Looking for double. He's there. It's a very peculiar pose on the part of Bill at the conclusion of his delivery.
Sometime he's going to be reaching up there, and he's going to pull the chain on those lights up there, and we'll be in the darkness here.
He's certainly laid 2 of them in there here in the first 2 frames. On the nose, a getaway, the 6-10. Boy, he's got a lot of lift on that ball just at the exact moment he releases it.
So true, Jack, and always when they do go through this method, or we describe it, that they're going to reach up in the air, they throw a bad pitch. That time his right hand was off to the left rather than up above his head.
Great coordination. Shooting the 6-10. Taking it down. Started with a double and a spare. Now Al Thompson with 2 spares. Al has the only opens with splits in the 2nd and 5th frames of the first game. Ball running on him. He's using the same angle, Whitey, but he seems to be varying the speed of the delivery.
I think Jack, what's causing it, he's coming over the top of the ball a little bit, and see, when you do that, you actually pull the ball into the head pin.
Seems to have let up on his speed a little bit.
Well, this would, see that you don't have a firm grip on the ball when you come over the top of it.
4-7-10. Nothing doing. He acted as if he might have a chance at it. That's his third split of the match, and Billy G has yet to open. And Bill started with a 4-pin advantage, which has increased now to some 17 pins. More than that, actually, now. Fourth frame for Thompson. There, he's in there. He comes back and he snatched at that towel and probably said to himself, why, oh, why can I do that every time? Bill started with a double. He has a spare up. He's in the fourth frame. He left the 7-pin as he plowed right in on the nose. He has complete control of that ball up until the last instant. I imagine the speed of his approach is very, very important. There's a 7-pin spare ball. Of course, for all bowlers, the speed with which they go up to the line is important, but I guess for Billy G, it's more so.
I would think so, Jack. Most bowlers, the weakness on the approach, being as you're talking about, is that they rush the foul line too fast, and then they're in a sideward position when they're throwing the ball.
He's back in there. There's a 5th frame strike for him. Picked up 23 pins in this one, making it a 27-pin advantage. But Thompson can rid himself of some of that deficit with a hit here in the 5th. As long as you don't let the ball go, it's all right.
Right, Jack. That is something where sometimes a lot of the bowlers don't realize that. But if you do check your slide and everything else, you don't let that ball go. It's not a foul.
You can go all the way down on the deck. You can fall down as long as you don't release the ball. Let's see if that upset him at all.
He must have knew what he was doing.
I thought he was going to come up better than that and hit better than that. Leaves a 2-4-5-8, and he's a bit perplexed as he...
You know, sometimes, Jack, when this happens to a bowler, it sort of can throw him off for a few frames because he got out of his timing right there.
You start to worry about that, too, wonder about it. There are a few ways to miss this one, too. And that's one of them. He left the 4-8. And so, through the 4th, Billy G has 87 with a strike. Al Thompson has 70 through the 5th frame. And he's back in one. He struck again on the 6th, as he did in the 4th, over on 21. Golembiewski looks for his second double of this game. Thompson outstruck Billy G in the first game 7-5. He knew something that time. There was a confident bowler walking away from the line. It's his second double. Now he's in the 7th frame, and he's widening the gap. Reaching for $1,000. Maybe that's what he thinks he's reaching for when he goes up with that big follow-through with the thumb at the ceiling. 4-pin. No 3-bagger.
Jack, you mentioned before he's actually throwing one of those crown jewel balls. That's the blue-style ball.
Typical of the great amount of color which has been added to the sport in recent years. Billy G gets his spare, continues to mark. Al Thompson has 70 through the 5th with a strike up, and Billy G has 126 through the 6th with a spare. Billy G has 136 through the 6th with a spare up. And here's Al Thompson looking for a double, which he direly needs. He's 50 pins out. And there's There's his double. Let's get some of those back as Golembiewski has a spare working. Thompson doubles. Will bowl in the 8th frame, looking for 3. He's had a split and a miss. They had 2 splits in the first game. Rolled this ball nicely, then hit. 8-pin drop there at the last moment, leaves a 2-4-5. Can't put them together, Whitey.
No, that in the 5th frame, Jack, if you recall, he had the 2-4-5-8, which was, it's again another light hit like this. Could have really closed the gap if he'd have carried that one and this one.
But the gap still remains, some 40 pins at the moment. And he covers it, 2-4-5. Now Billy G. with a spare up, bowling in the 8th frame. Beautiful. He laid one in there nicely that time. Let me see. That's 5 strikes for him. 2 doubles. Chance to get his 3rd double. He's ahead by 43 pins. He ended the first game 207 to 203 with a 4-pin advantage, but things have really changed now. Ball stayed out. 2-4-5 over there for him. Peculiar that they're both bowling about the same line and leaving the same combinations quite often.
Well, sometimes this happens, Jack, although we've brought out at different times that the bowlers do not watch each other when they're bowling that way, but it just seems like these two have fallen into the same pattern.
How about that for an equalizer? That's his first open. A miss here in the 9th frame as he left the 5-pin. And a chance for Al Thompson to get a lot of those pins back here in the 9th. Notably, if he can get a strike. He leaves the 4-pin.
He knew it was gone, Jack, because he immediately looked up high.
Somebody bothered him, Whitey. If looks could kill. He gets the spare. Spare in the 9th frame and get some of those pins back. He's cut into the margin considerably, but not so much on his own as because of the miss by Billy G. 10th frame. There's one. Oh, boy, that 9th was so important for him. You know, bowlers will tell you that constant noise, such as you hear when you go to bowl, wouldn't bother them a bit. It's the complete quiet and then the sudden distracting noise. They're not temperamental. It's just that it's something they're not looking for, listening for. And he threw everything at the 7-pin, but it wouldn't go down. So the best he can have is a 176 game. Isn't that true, Whitey? The noise doesn't bother them?
No, I think so. They're concentrating, Jack, but like you said, just something unusual might happen just when they're releasing the ball. That would be the nervous reaction.
So that miss cost him 1 pin there as he ends with 175. He's still very much in this. Although Billy G could crack off 3 of them here and end with 214. These strikes are important to him. There's one of them. The most he could end with would be a 43-pin advantage. Looking for the double in the 10th frame. 2-4-5 again. Why would you say when you're playing outside or inside, do you have to be the more accurate?
Actually, when you're playing inside, you have to be more accurate, Jack, and evidently Billy and Al here have decided that this is a freer way for them to roll the ball from that outside.
He didn't leave that 5-pin this time. He spares, and he ends with 204, picks up 29 pins, and so it's Al Thompson with a total of 378, and Billy G at the end of the second game totaling 411. With me prior to the start of the third game this week is Lou Supik, who is the president of the Missouri Bowling Proprietors Association. Lou, they've now put you on the National Board of Directors, huh?
That's right, Jack.
And how have you found the junior bowling program coming along on a nationwide scale?
Very well, Jack. You know, we just recently, that is the National, has adopted a national program for the youth of America.
Mm-hmm.
It's known as the BPA program.
There are about 50,000 in Missouri, are there not?
That's correct, Jack.
Can you just about multiply by 50 and come up with the number of youngsters who are bowling?
Well, many times that, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Many times that.
And of course, you're a tub thumper for bowling. What are some of the things that come to mind as you brag about your sport?
Well, we like to think, staying with the youth angle, Jack, of the carryover value for kids to learn bowling at an early age, and when they're out of school, they can still bowl. This is important because in so many cases, they're out of school and they don't have enough carryover sports to enjoy.
Mm-hmm. And I know that Whitey and I have talked about some of the other angles that you can bowl any time of the day or night. And the men, the women, the children.
Right.
And never too cold, and so many things. How about your own bowling?
Well, so, Jack. We practice a lot and try to improve.
Mm-hmm. Lou, thanks a lot for the visit here.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy
Jack.
the remainder of the match.
Thank you very much.
Lou Supik, our guest here. Now let's get set for the third and final game on Top Star Bowling. Well, there's only one thing to do, Whitey, when you're 33 pins behind. Only one way to start.
And this is it.
Is it? That's not it. 5-7.
I called another good one.
For the first time in your life, you're wrong again.
Well, this too, Jack, and the pros, as I think I've said at different times, would rather shoot at this 5-7 than the 3-10, and we'll see if Al Thompson can't bear me out on this. Get that ball out, up, and came very close. I think a sympathetic remark came from Billy G to his opponent. Would he say, oh, my aching back or something like that?
Billy has been over the 200 mark, 207, 204. Leaves a 10 pin, and that has hurt him quite often throughout the entire match. Billy Golembiewski from Detroit, shooting for the $1,000 and the privilege of returning next week to meet Chuck Wagner of Chicago. And he spares. Picks up an additional 10 pins to go with his 33-pin advantage.
Did you ever take a glance at the records of this Billy G, Jack? How different things that he has won, and I think one of them he's very proud of is being the king of the Detroit bowlers for three different times.
And he strikes. He was Bowler of the Year in 1960 around the nation. He's been on Bowling Magazine's All-American First Team numerous times, Bowler's Journal All-American Team, the National Bowling Illustrated All-American Team. Has a high series of 826. Al Thompson, 3-6-10. Al is from Cleveland. Good deal younger than Golembiewski. Hasn't been around the bowling circles quite as much. But he's winning his share of titles. Covers that spare.
One of the most exasperating I note there, Jack, is that Al has had 4 299s in sanctioned league play, and of course this means that you've got 11 strikes in a row, and then you end up leaving possibly a good 10-pin or a 4-pin.
He's right there. He's still not in too bad a shape to make a comeback on this one, despite the open in the first frame and his disadvantage of 44 pins. Billy G has a strike, and he's in the third frame. And there's a double for him. We have a ladies' match to be seen in the future on Top Star Bowling. There he is. You know that when he goes through the follow-through, it almost seems he has a string on that ball, and he's causing it to turn more for him. That's 3 in a row for Billy G. There's the double for Al Thompson. He's not going to give up. It doesn't appear that on this particular show, Billy G is going to leave anything really worthwhile to shoot at in the way of high series. Although he could have a good high game in this one. There's 3 in a row for Al Thompson. Don't forget King Louis shirt cash prizes, $1,500 for the high series and $1,000 for the high game in a particular 13-week period. Billy started with a spare, now 3 strikes, and now the 6-10. You think he'd get worn out, Whitey, because of his size? He only weighs 135 pounds, and he really labors up there with that ball.
Well, Jack, commenting that way, too, and Billy has been in the finals of the World Invitational, which where you shoot 100 games in a week, and also in the BPA All-Star Individual, so he's pretty tough out there.
Stays right with him. So Al Thompson has 29 through the second with the 3-bagger working, and Billy G has 98 through the fourth with a spare up. Billy G trying to get on a strike again in the 6th frame. He gave it a little hocus-pocus there with the hands as he watched that ball pile into the pocket, and it did for him, giving him 118 through the 5th. 268 if he could go all the way, and that'd be something to shoot at. 269 for Al Thompson if he can continue to hit. That leaves the 4-7, stops his string at 3. He pretty much needed that one. Started this game 33 pins behind, and he has dropped an additional few. He's 44 behind again. As he spares, got a bad start in this game with that split, that 5-7. And he had a split in the second game, 2 of them in the first game. Billy G didn't have an open until he missed in the 9th frame of the second game, and he's gone through this one in great fashion. 7th frame for Al Thompson. And the old 8-10 pops up. He's grinning about it now. He had the 8-10 in the first game. He gets it again.
Jack, and that was on the same lane, too, on that left lane.
Shooting at the 8-pin. They don't kick back very often.
No, not. This is just one of those things, Jack, where they do get a break if they do ricochet off that back curtain.
An open in the 7th for Al, giving him 134. Billy G looking for a double. He strikes. So he has a 3-bag and a double, total of 5 strikes. He had 5 in the first game, 6 in the second, and it appears that he's going to better that in this third game. He's in the groove now. Oh, he looks loose up there and confident at the same time. .268 if Bill can go all the way. Al Thompson trying to finish with a good total. Leaves the 4-pin. That was his 8th frame. Next week, Chuck Wagner on Top Star Bowling, and the following week, Don Carter. I was going to say something about Carter, then it occurred to me it would apply to all the professional bowlers. Any one of them could come here and stay around for a long, long time. There's the spare.
Jack, you asked before, and of course when I said about pins coming back, in bowling, just like in baseball, some of these fellows throw actually a hard ball, and I don't mean by the speed. And this
You mean
thing,
a heavy ball?
a heavy ball, and this is what you'll see a fellow like Dick Hoover. And I noticed Al, some of his pins just about come back to that pin deck.
There's his strike. He's had 4 strikes in this game, but the splits have really hurt him. Billy G now goes into the 9th frame with the 3-bagger working. Only thing that remains to be determined is Billy G's final winning total. Not critically, I say that he appeared to be a little bit careless with that delivery.
Look, Lion, I think he knew it too, Jack, when he walked back this way while he was giving that with the eyes up in the heavens. Why did I throw that pitch like that?
And his spare. Yeah, when the pressure isn't on and those hits aren't quite so important, you tend to lose your concentration. Concentration, no matter who you are and what your status is in bowling, or you're not going to do well. Comes back on a strike in the 10th frame. Could end with 245 with a couple of more hits. I think he'll have to do better next week if he wants to have a high game or a high series for the others to shoot at. Four pin. He'll end with 235. He's had 7 strikes, 5 in the first game, 6 in the second, 7 in this one. Finishes with 235 and 646. Now Thompson in his 10th frame could end with 214 if he catches 3 of them. He'll be under the 600 mark. There's the double. All these bowlers have pride, and even though the match might be over, they want to get as many pins as they can.
I was thinking the other thing, Jack, when we know that Dal had mentioned that little twinge in his back, but it's funny about athletes, how they forget their aches and ailments when they are maybe getting a strike or if they have to run out a hit or something.
So an 8 count there as he leaves the 4-7. Bring these back for 202. And 580. That's the way it ends. 202, 580 for Al Thompson. And a congratulatory handshake to Billy G, who totals 646 in winning our match on this particular week. A chance later to talk with the 2 bowlers about Billy G's victory in this week's Top Star Bowling, but right now I want to show off the Brunswick A2 automatic pin setters and the very speedy ball return. You notice how quickly the ball came back. You got 1 strike after another. What do you have, 9 in a row there, Bill?
In practice.
1 practice, not in here.
The biggest string I had today was 3 strikes in a row.
And now we have a little time left. You want to have some fun with us?
Be glad to, Jack.
Okay, we'll see how many strikes these 2 men can roll in a matter of 3 minutes. We'll sound the buzzer. You start, sound the buzzer, you be through. Hinder each other as much as you want, and we'll get set to go, all right?
All right.
Nothing involved in here in the way of prize money. I think just a little bit of fun, and you'll see that it gets pretty hectic. Get your ball and get up there and go ahead and get started. Go ahead, let it roll. Don't be so timid, Bill. Come on. There's a 6 count, and there's a 10 count. How many can you get here?
I don't know.
How many do you think? 5? You think you can get 5? All right. You wouldn't want to exchange the winner and loser share here, would you, if you don't get 5? Some 35 seconds has gone by. When are you going to get these 5 you're talking about? The next 5. All right. 40 seconds has gone by. 45. One of the things we're trying to point out is the rapidity with which the ball comes back from the A2s. He left that too often before, Al. He's coming back too fast. Well, that's a new complaint. They've each bowled 3 frames so far, and 1 minute and 10 seconds has gone by. It's only been 1 strike so far. No 10 pin. And Billy gets his second strike. And you got 4 more to go, and you got 1.5 minutes in which to get him. Just make it, he said. You'll have a week to rest up before Chuck Wagner comes along, Bill. Yeah, you can't find the groove. Okay, there's 2. Got 1 minute and 10 seconds for 3 strikes. Taking too much time. You think you're going to get this, huh, Bill? Somebody must have bothered you. 45 seconds left. Billy is bowled in 6 frames. You'll wear yourself out in 3 minutes here. 30 seconds left. And there's the strike for out. At 15 seconds. Have time for about 1 more. Less than 10 seconds. 5. You got to get rid of the ball before the buzzer sounds out. 3, 2, 1. And another strike. And they each bowled at strikes in 8 different frames. And it comes time to get rid of the money here on Top Star Bowling. Al, it's going to be a real pleasure to give you that $1,000 because we don't.
Excuse me.
I want to see if he was paying attention. Al, it's a lot of fun having you here, and we have a worthwhile check for you. And to present the check, a young lady who is a graduate of the John Robert Powers School of Modeling, and the Pat Allen Agency here in St. Louis, Linda Gould. Linda?
Congratulations, Al. Here's your check for $500.
Thank you.
Yes. And here's your check for $1,000. We'll be seeing you next time.
Thank you.
You're married, aren't you, Bill?
I sure am.
I just wanted to see if you're paying attention. Linda, thank you very much. Linda Gould. Are you familiar with Chuck Wagner, who'll be here next week?
I sure am. I know him quite well.
He'll be a good one, huh?
Yes, he bowls real good on our tour, too.
And so a chance for Billy G to win another $1,000. And Al Thompson, a pleasure to have had you here.
Jack, nice being here. Hope to be back again.
And I know that you're one of the favorites of people here at Marlboro, and congratulations. And Billy Golembiewski, that's the way you pronounce it, huh?
That sure is.
Perfect, huh?
Very
We'll
good.
see you here next week, and we'll get a chance to practice with your name again.
All right, thank you.
How about a nice hand for our 2 bowlers? It will be Chuck Wagner next week, and the following week, Don Carter, and then in the future here on Top Star Bowling, we'll have a ladies' match, which I'm certain you'll enjoy. We're here at the Marlboro Lanes in the village of Marlboro, which is just southwest of the city of St. Louis. And St. Louis is referred to as the gateway to the west, and this particular lane is the gateway to a lot of money to a lot of bowlers who come this way each week. Speaking for Whitey Harris, Jack Buck says thanks for your time this time. Till next time, so long. Top Star Bowling has been presented by Brunswick, the #1 name in bowling. Top Star Bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress.